Hi, I'm Linda Heffernan and I have a Kaizen mind. I work as a behaviorist. I help people to identify the behavior that they don't want to have and to change it into new empowering behavior, whether it's personal or work or relationships with other people in your environment. My skill set involves 11 years of training and practice, which I have distilled down into a simple, practical approach that you can learn with my toolset and take into your life afterwards. Have you ever heard the following expressions? I'm in crash mode. I was in a right state. Does that sound vaguely familiar to you? Or perhaps it's a behavior that you have observed in somebody that you are managing or responsible for. It's not very helpful. If you would like to change your behavior or to change the behavior in others around you, then watch and listen to how behaviorists, coaches and therapists elicit behavior changes in themselves before they work and help others to make the same changes in their lives. I call it a Kaizen change. Kai means change and Zen means for the better. You put the two of those together and you have a Kaizen change in your life. The state that you are in not only affects you, but it also affects those around you, be it in your work, in your personal life, in school, or in your relationships. Your state determines how you show up in the world, how you represent yourself. Now, have you ever been in a state where you felt frustrated or angry or anxious or down or just overwhelmed and pressured, and then you make a bad decision, or perhaps you snap at a colleague or a partner or a child, only then to regret it deeply afterwards? And yet you find yourself repeating this behavior again and again and again. You know what? We all do it. It's called being human. It does become a problem, however, when you find yourself on a hamster wheel of bad, undesired behavior, a constant anxiety and the energy of which is rolling you forward and forward and forward, and you can't stop. This is when a Kaizen change is imperative. Now, whilst your family and friends and supportive colleagues may forgive you, it will still have an impact on them and inevitably have an impact on you and your relationship. In the workplace, the rapport you build with people determines who you are and will determine your identity and how you are seen. That identity is not always fixed. It is really dependent on your most recent behaviors. If you find that you have snapped or made bad decisions in the workplace, this is a behavior that will be unhelpful, but it will always situate a new identity there. But don't worry, it's something that we can easily fix. I have two approaches which will help you to change this undesired behavior to a far more important, desired, empowering behavior. This particular video focuses on the first approach, coach state. Coach state is the desired optimal state, and I had the privilege of learning this from Mr. Robert Dilts, one of the foremost NLP coaches in the world and a behaviorist researcher. Robert suggests that we can find ourselves in a stuck state when we find ourselves confronted by unfamiliar or unwanted experiences. When we meet with the challenges of loss, separation, or grief, we can also be met with an inner belief, a feeling, a sentiment of uncertainty and vulnerability. This often leads to the crash state, the state that we do not want to be in. Robert describes the state that we can often find ourselves plunged into when we are confronted with some sort of attack. We call it the fight, flight, or freeze response. It is the response which stops us from moving forward. It is a response which inevitably leads to regression, inertia, vulnerability. It is the response which leads to the state of crash. Now, does that sound in any way familiar? Crash state is a state that we all are infinitely ingenious at discovering and utilizing again and again and again on the hamster wheel. Crash, well, it's common sense. If you're moving at such a space and you're not paying attention to what's going on around you because you're so overwhelmed, you're going to crash into something. But we define crash in our industry, and according to Robert, as CRASH. C, constricted, that tight feeling inside in the body and mind where you feel unable to move. R, restricted, again, tight. I also refer to R as being reactionary, not responsive. A, analysis paralysis. Ever been stuck in that moment when you're trying to make a decision and A can also refer to the behavior of anger, anguish, anxiety. S, separate. You are separate from the environment around you. You're not aware, you're not conscious of what is happening around you. And of course, I also add in S for stress. And H. Ooh, H is the most dangerous one. H is hate, hurtful and hurting. So we don't just hurt others because of our behavior. We actually end up hurting ourselves too. So that's the outline of the crash state. Now, it's common sense that this is really not a state that you want to be in. If it's a state that you do want to be in, that's a whole other story, and I'll do a video on that later on. Crash state is the state that we are not also just familiar with. It's a state that's innately intrinsic with evolutionary biology and evolutionary psychology. It's the fight or flight state. It's a defense mechanism. So yes, we do need to use it. However, it's when we decide to reside in this state that we run into many behavioral problems. Thankfully, coach state is the desired state that we can transfer into to change this unwanted behavior. I practice coach state almost every single day. I utilize it before I work with a client to make sure I'm in the best state before I hear their states. I use it in moments when I just want to enjoy myself and relax. I use it in moments when I need to get out of crash. And it's a very easy state to get into with choice and practice. This state of coach state is the opposite of crash. And the beauty of it is it gives us choice when we want to confront adversity and brings us into a new zone of excellence. The zone of excellence will be very common to you if you have studied Tim Gallwey or any great sports psychologists. The zone of excellence is the zone that you see the greatest sporting talents using just before they go out of the starting pit, just as they're waiting to return serve, just as they're about to take that penalty kick. It's that absolute focus, clarity, and concentration. Coach state. C, centered, grounded in the space surrounding you. O, open. Open to the space around you. Open to whatever challenge may come towards you. A, aware. This is about mindfulness. This is noticing, being present with what's happening around you and within yourself. C, connected, capable, conscious, caring. And finally, H, holding. Holding the space around you. So you are in charge of your environment. Now that's coach state, and though it sounds like an awful lot of practice, all of these factors really come down to one simple thing: being present in your mind and in your body. Coach state. Okay, so now you have the structure, or I'd like to say the science behind this state change or this new state possibility. I have based the exercise that I'm about to show you on the Robert Dilts model, but I have adapted it to my particular two approaches: mindful NLP and cognitive Kaizen.